So Death Speaks was a commission from Carnegie Hall, and they had commissioned my piece that won the Pulitzer Prize, The Little Magical Passion, and so they wanted to bring it back, and they wanted to commission a new piece to go along with it. And so one of the things that's so interesting, I'm kind of obsessed with death, which is odd because I'm a very happy person. But I'm really interested, and I feel like, music deals with things we can't see and understand. And so that kind of makes it a perfect foil for the things that we can't see or understand in our lives that we say are important to us. Music is a conduit for faith or spirituality or God or politics or whatever, things which bring us together to deal with something intangible. And death is certainly one of those. And of course, it's been a popular topic for musicians forever. But it's a popular topic for me for various personal reasons I don't want to go into. But I got this commission from Carnegie Hall, and my piece, it seemed like I wanted to make it in some relation to The Little Match Girl. And one of the weird things about the Little Match Girl story is she dies, and we feel terrible. We feel really bad, right? The end of the story, we feel horrible. She doesn't, like her story is really great, according to Hans Christian Andersen. It's like she is warm, she's transfigured, she's in heaven with her grandmother, she's eating all that great food. It's like it's presented in the story as if she is in a better place. And we are left behind. We are here in this horrible place, which is real life. And we're miserable. But she's not, So there's this 19th century notion of going to a better place, of this afterlife being full of tangible benefits, right? And I just was thinking how weird that was. It's like this is how how Hans Christian Andersen is trying to both manipulate his audience into feeling terrible and also reassure them that everything is going to work out. So it's a really weird thing. And because I am not Christian, I don't have those those feelings. So whenever I encounter those things, I'm just kind of shocked that someone has this worldview. In the next world, you're going to have a roast goose, right? I mean, it's so physical. I just don't know what to make of that because it's not part of my religious background and it's not part of my spiritual, cosmology. So, so I just thought, okay, well, mid 19th century, what are people thinking about death? How is this the conversation that Andersen thinks he's having with his readership? And then I remembered, I've always been really fascinated by the times in the Schubert songs, which is a little earlier, but not that much earlier. I'm interested in those moments where death is a character and death talks to us. So, the amazing thing is everyone understands the first half of the song Death and the Maiden, where, the girl sings how afraid she is of dying. And then death comes and tells us what his side of the story is. It's amazing, This is incredible. Or in, the Earl King, right? So it's like, you can see me, but, my dad can't see you, no. It's amazing, right? It's like death is a character talking to us in these songs, talking to Schubert's audience, the same way Andersen is talking to his audience. And just kind of on a lark, I just wondered, would I learn something about Schubert's audience and Schubert's world, and would I learn something about death itself if I went through all of Schubert's songs where death is a named character, and I just thought of what death says? Is there a coherent message here in what all of these songs are telling me? In what the river is saying to the young miller when the river says at the end of Die schöne Millerin, oh, come here, I'll protect you from the wicked girl, and convinces him to jump in and kill himself. There's so many things. So I just wondered how many stories there were and if I would learn something. So I just went from A to Z in the German through all the 600 plus Schubert songs, and I just read them. And, there are 32 to my count, instances where a voice from beyond reaches out and tells us something in language about what we can expect in the world to come. I just compiled them, and then I kind of, poeticized them a little bit so they would move smoothly into one another, and I imagined they were one person. I imagined this, to Schubert's audience, is death telling us his side of the story. What is it, And, and to me, this was a really beautiful and powerful thing, because it really did start to feel like a coherent message from beyond, which I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed, and also for me, I'm not a writer. I love to write, but I'm not a writer. I could never start from nothing to write something. I could never start and say, today I'm going to write a story and it's going to be about a girl and I'm imagining, death will come for her and this is what they're going to say. I could never do that. But if the text is in front of me, I can adjust it so that I can work with it musically. And there's some unbelievably heavy things in those texts, and the way I translated them, again, it's like they made them more personal to me. So I translated them so that they would speak more powerfully to me. There's this incredibly heartbreaking moment in The Earl King where the Earl King is telling the boy, these are the things that you're going to see. Okay, it's going to be so great, You're going to come and, my daughters are going to dance with you and my wife will make you a robe. And there are all these beautiful things. And then there's this heartbreaking moment where Death looks up and says, please don't make me make you follow me. It's heartbreaking. So anyway, so I loved writing this text. It was so fun, And so then my idea was how to put this in the Schubert world. It's like I come from the song world. I want to return it to the song world. I'm going to have songs. What do I do? And so the weird thing of classical music is, there used to be this incredible art song world. Schubert sat in a room, in a salon with 10 people listening and played these songs for his tiny audience. We don't do that anymore. When you see a Schubert song, you see Die Schöne Müllerin with Ian Bostridge in Carnegie Hall for 2,500 people. We don't have that intimate relationship with classical music any longer, which we need, right? It's very rare now that we have our best singers. We can't afford it. We've built a business model which does not work, where we can afford to have our best singers sing, in the same world that Schubert's music comes from. So I thought, well, where does that world still exist? And I thought, well, indie rock. It's like indie pop music. You go to a little club, you go to a club in New York, and there are 40 people there, and you're drinking, and somebody comes out with a guitar and sings something really beautiful and emotional, and we accept that completely. That's a completely natural and legitimate way to make music. We love it, So I started thinking, well, have we seeded, in a way, that kind of direct, emotional, intimate world from the song world, Schubert's song world? Have we seeded the power of Lieder to this other indie pop world, because we can't afford to do that in our world any longer, just because of the business model? Then I started thinking, okay, well, if that's true, maybe I can find musicians who started out as classical musicians who became disaffected by classical music and went into that other world because they're searching for that emotional connection and that intimate connection, the way that a song has power in pop music world. They were hungry for that in classical music. We drove them away into this more intimate pop-related world. And I just looked around at people I knew, and I just thought, okay, well, I know Bryce Dessner. He got a master's degree in classical guitar from Yale, right? His first gig was he played backup guitar in the Bang on a Can All-Stars, I know this kid, right? And now, of course, he's a gigantic, in addition to being a great composer, he's also, one of the founders of the National, and he tours all over and he plays in stadiums, He was someone that started in classical music, we didn't keep him, right? You know, it's nice that he's coming back, right? But there's a way to look at it as being, we let that kind of intimate connection that he's looking for with an audience disappear. Not that playing in a stadium with the National is an intimate connection, but you know what I mean, right? Um, the singer Sharonova, you know, she began as an opera singer. When I asked her to join this band, you know, she started her own band, My Brightest Diamond. She sings with Sufjan. She sings with the National. You know, I mean, she has become big as a pop star, as in the indie world. All she wanted to do was be an opera singer. That was it. You know, she looked around. She went, "This isn't working. I have to move." I told her I wanted to write this piece for her, and she said, "It's so funny because when I was studying opera, all I wanted to do was sing in Carnegie Hall, and this is going to be how I get there." It's really ironic, you know. Then Owen Pallett, who is, you know, a classical violinist, who of course is in Arcade Fire, and Nico Muhly, who you know, is, you know, kind of welcome in every musical world on the planet. So it was my way of trying to sort of take my initial idea, what is in those Schubert songs now for me, and blow it up as large as I possibly could. You know, this is sort of the way I work, basically. You know, as I spend a lot of time with myself in my studio, and I just like uncover stones, and I go, what do I get by uncovering that one? Maybe nothing. You know, okay, I'll cover it back up. You know, but this one, yeah, that one's interesting.